Hey everybody, welcome back. This is iteration 6 for part 5 of module 1, and this is the last problem in module 1. Woo! Anyway, write a function called multiply between. Given two integers, multiply between returns the product between the two given integers, beginning at num1 and excluding num2. The product between 1 and 4 is 1 times 2 times 3, which is equal to 6. If num2 is not greater than num1, it should return 0. So a couple things should jump out there. One is that we have an obvious situation for iteration, not just because the problem is called iteration 6, but because we did this, we have a lower bound and an upper bound, and we traverse between those in an orderly fashion, which is to say we're not going 1, 1.5, 2.7, or something weird. It's going evenly, so we can iterate nicely. And the second one is that we have an edge case. If num2 is not greater than num1, it should return 0. So if num2 is not greater than, which is to say is less than or equal to num1, and I did that talking out loud, and I usually mess things up when I do that. Let's make sure. If num2 is not greater than num1, so if it's not greater, then it could be less than or equal to. Fair enough. We'll say return 0. Yeah, okay, that works. So then what we're going to do is iterate using a for loop. We're going to say for variable i's. We're skipping steps. Sorry about that. First thing that we need to do is establish a product. So we'll say variable product is equal to 1. And then for variable I is equal to, and this one's where it gets a little bit tricky. What we could do is we could just set variable I equal to num1, which is what we've got going on here, and then iterate until num1 is less than num2, or iterate while num1 is less than num2. So we'll say I is less than num2, which will take I from num1 sequentially up to just before num2, which looks like it's what we're doing there on that on this line here. So at this point, I++, so it goes by ones. In case you're curious what I mean by that, you can always say I plus equals like 5 if you want to iterate by 5, or like 19 if you need to do that. I++ is the same as I plus equals 1, but there's just a shorthand for it because it's so common. Anyway, at this point, we're going to multiply product times num1 and then set it equal to itself. So product equals product times I. I is the value, excuse me, that's starting at num1, in this case 1, and going to iterate until just before num2. So at that point, product will contain the result that we want, so we're going to return the product. I don't see anything about negative integers. Given two integers, returns the product between the two integers beginning at num1 and num2. Huh. Well, that'd be weird though, because what if you had like -4 and 6? Oh, that makes it tricky. Well, that'll sort itself out though, really, because you figure that each time that it's a negative number, it'll just multiply a negative number, and each time it's a positive number, it'll just multiply a positive. So hopefully the tests aren't that involved, but I think this should get the job done. We've got our edge case, we set up a product value, we iterate from num1 to just before num2, reassigning product to be product times whatever our current index variable is, and then return the product at the end. Oh wow, we have 2 of these. I thought there was only 1. Anyway, let's run the test for this one, and we're good. Write a function called compute sum between. Okay, so this is the same problem. It's just instead of multiplying, we're going to add. If num2 is not greater than num1, it should return 0. So if num2 is less than or equal to num1, they want us to return 0. We're going to create a variable sum, set it equal to 0. We're going to return sum at the end. Iterate using a for loop. We'll say I is equal to num1. I is going to need to be less than num2, and we're going to increment I each time. During each iteration, we're going to set sum equal to whatever sum was plus I, and that'll allow us to compute the sum between the two numbers. Run the tests, and we're good. Excellent work. Thanks for watching these videos. Hope you enjoyed this module, and I hope you got something out of it. Stay tuned. We're probably going to put more of these videos into Module 2. In either case, excellent work. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.